Hello and welcome to Overcoming Conflict Through Management. My name is Adriana Notaboom and I am with Bethel University through the course SLDR650 with Dr. Peter Kapsner. Through this presentation, I want to think of the mental image of summiting a mountain. When dealing with conflict, it feels like you're climbing a mountain, you reach the summit, and you go back down as you resolve the conflict. I've chosen this image for the presentation because that is the mental picture that you tend to feel as you try to resolve conflict throughout your life, whether it be in the workplace or in your personal life. And I think it very well fits that emotional journey that you go on throughout the entire process, whether you are actively participating, managing, or watching conflict. In this course, I've come to see the relationships of conflict management and windows and how they shift and relate to each other. Faith has always been something that I've known as key in conflict management, but I now see it as a greater integral part of the process. Vanier describes faith and its key central role to our development, growth, and becoming part of community and conflict resolution in his lectures. I have always valued the role of faith in conflict management, and that has always been a starting point for me as I've approached conflict. How does my faith handle this? Where do I begin in faith? However, now I see faith even more as a strong point after listening to Vanier's discussion in his video, as well as listening or reading his lectures. In the secular windows side of things, the organizational philosophy I see as being incredibly crucial in conflict management as it sets the precedent for how an organization handles disputes. This is saying that their philosophy is what an organization is to say that it's an organizational approach to how they're going to handle conflict or a difficult person when a situation arises. This organizational philosophy is going to lay that groundwork, lay that framework for any kind of conflict or difficult situation and build on that going from there. I think that that is one of the most important windows that we have to look at when dealing with conflict management, especially from a business perspective or an organizational perspective. Developmental psychology also plays a role in managing conflict as it aids us in understanding why people are the way they are and how the brain ticks. We always think about how, oh, everybody is different from another person, but when you think about developmental psychology, you're not only looking at differences, but you're looking at the way that person has literally developed or what their mental background is or was. And I think that can be very explanatory in really coming to understand and process through why some social interactions occur the way that they do. And all three of these things and more combined together really create a holistic view of that relationship of conflict management and how it functions together in the workplace, in any sector of life, but especially in the workplace, and how we as leaders handle that management aspect of conflict and difficult people. My most valuable takeaways from this course are the conflict management styles from the Thomas Kilmann assessment. I found that collaborating and avoiding were my two top conflict styles, which was very enlightening for me in helping to understand myself better. I also found that hands-on negotiation practice was one of the most valuable tools that I gained in the project that we did together in the Larry Hawk simulation. I love negotiating and getting the chance to actually practice it in a business setting and not just bartering in the markets of Guatemala was a very valuable tool for me personally, as I was able to better understand the terminology of the different negotiation techniques and standards and BATNA that we had been practicing in class and learning about in our lectures. The last tool that is a valuable takeaway for me was a better understanding of ADR and its role in the American workplace. I hadn't totally thought about the concept of arbitration and how permeated it is through American society and the workplace, and the fact that even myself, in being part of a union in the school where I work, am affected by ADR to some extent. Found that being able to read up and study on what the role of arbitration in the workforce is clarified a lot of understanding for me and gave me a good takeaway to be able to go out into my workplace as well as into future workplaces with a better understanding of how to resolve conflict in a different perspective from other ways that we have learned about. These conflict management principles can be applied in every area of life. I can utilize them at work, in my faith, and my leadership abilities. I know that at work I can use these principles with my students and my administrators. In faith, I can find ways to resolve disputes within the church. And in leadership, I can use these in the future with the ministry that I feel called to start, called Forward Ministries. It's a ministry for sex traffickers. It's a rehabilitation program. I know that I can use this with the team that I'll be leading because there, I'm sure, will be times of conflict among them, as well as times with conflict among the traffickers themselves, because criminals are going to have times where they just want to fight. And so finding times to resolve conflict should not be hard for me to encounter. Where I'm currently at, the best world system for education is ongoing regard from Keegan and Leahy. To be direct, be specific, and be non-attributive. If you're being direct, students respond well because they know what you need. If you're being specific, then they know exactly what you need. If you're being non-attributive, then they don't feel that they are being blamed. Students respond well, they respond positively, and it forms strong relationships with them. On the flip side, you form good relationships with administration as well. If you're direct with administrators, they know what you need. If you're specific, they know exactly what you need. If you're non-attributive, they don't feel like you're blaming them if there's something going wrong or if you don't feel like they're doing their jobs. Same thing with parents. When you're direct with parents, they know what you need. If you tell them exactly what the problem is, they know how to handle it. And if you're non-attributive, it doesn't sound like you're blaming them for doing something wrong or not parenting their kid correctly or whatever it may be that's going wrong in the classroom, their kid's not doing something right, what have you. There's a lot of ways to spin it that honestly, it just works best with education because it clearly communicates your message, it builds strong relationships, and it avoids blame is best necessary. One of the best ways that I've been able to apply course material in my real life is using my conflict management skills of collaborating to work with students who have been having a difficult time in my class. I have one student that has really struggled with his frustrations in my course, as we've had a significant number of heritage learners who are native Spanish speakers and a significant number of native English speakers mixed in the same class. This has created a lot of tension and a lot of frustration in the course. We had to sit down with the principal and have a meeting yesterday together to be able to talk through everything in order to hash out some of his frustrations. I was able to go into this meeting and sit there and explain things to him from my perspective as well as to listen to his perspective and to work with him together to be able to find solutions rather than say it's my way or the highway. Through techniques in the course, I was able to approach this meeting with an open mind rather than the frustration that I initially had when this situation began. I've also been able to learn how to mentally prepare for potential conversations of conflict, whether that be with administration or students. I found that even in teaching, even though it's not a business setting, I've been able to learn a lot from conflict management and apply it in my classroom on a daily basis. Thank you so much for taking time to listen to my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it and have learned more about my experiences with this course. Thank you.